Let's talk about the map you learned in school. You know the one. Well, it turns out a huge chunk of what we all think we know about the geography of North America is just plain wrong.
It's a pretty bold question, right? But honestly, the maps we've all been trusting for centuries have been, well, bending the truth, subtly distorting how we see the entire world. So yeah, I think it's about time we set the record straight.
That's what one source calls it. And you know what? It's the perfect way to put it. It feels like geography has been gaslighting us for generations. So let's peel back the layers on this massive cartographic prank.
All right, let's dive right into the first big myth. We all know Canada is this absolutely massive country, the second largest on Earth, just sprawling across the top of the continent. But is it really that much bigger than the US? Like, really?
Okay, so here's the catch. Canada has an unbelievable number of lakes, a mind-boggling amount of water. So if you measure by total area, that's land and water combined, yep, Canada takes the prize. But what happens if you take away all that water weight? Well, that's when a very different story starts to unfold.
And here's the big reveal. When you look at pure, solid land, the actual ground you can stand on, the United States actually squeaks by just barely with 3.52 million square miles to Canada's 3.51 million. So, believe it or not, the US is sitting on more actual dirt.
But this whole land area thing, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It leads to an even bigger issue of distortion. If the numbers are one thing, the way that land is actually shown on a map, well, that's what one source calls geography's ultimate, catfish.
And the culprit has a name, the Mercator Projection. Now, look, it was designed for sailing, for navigation, and it's great for that. But as a pretty major side effect, it acts like a funhouse mirror. It stretches landmasses near the North and South poles and makes them look gigantic compared to countries near the equator. So, let's put this to the test. Just look at a standard world map. Alaska looks enormous, right? You could easily think it's about the same size as, say, Brazil. But is that the real story? No, not even close. In reality, Brazil is five times larger than Alaska. The Mercator map doesn't just bend the truth, it completely shatters it.
Okay, so distorting size is one thing, but what happens when a map literally creates a piece of land that doesn't even exist? Well, for 200 years, that is exactly what happened with California.
This all started back in the 1530s. A mutineer lands on this peninsula and names it California because he thinks it's a mythical island from a popular book. But here's the crazy part. Even after they figured out it was a peninsula, Spain just kept the island myth going on their maps. Why? For political reasons, to keep the British from getting any ideas about claiming it. This lie, this fake island, wasn't officially corrected until 1747. And the map's deceptions, they don't stop at size and shape. Oh no. They also mess with our understanding of what a place is actually like, its climate, its terrain, and they feed into these stereotypes that are just wrong. For example, take the whole myth of the Great American Desert. So many people picture Los Angeles as this dry, dusty place. But in reality, LA is a subtropical zone. And get this, it gets more rain every year than Denver, or even Athens, Greece. And this is where our mental maps get really scrambled. You think of Arizona, you think of a frying pan with tumbleweeds, right? But nope, Flagstaff has pine forests and ski slopes. And Alaska, it's not just a giant walk-in freezer. In fact, Alaska is home to the Tongass National Forest. It's the largest temperate rainforest in the entire world. We're talking 17 million acres of what the source beautifully describes as gloomy green cathedrals of moss and mist. Yeah, not exactly the icy wasteland most of us picture. So here's the thing. If our mental map of the physical land is this warped, you have to assume our understanding of where people actually live and where borders end up is probably off too. For instance, we think of Canada as this super northern country, a land of hockey and snow. But what if I told you that more than half of its entire population lives south of a major European city?
It's absolutely true. Over half of all Canadians live south of the latitude of Milan, Italy. So while Milan is hosting Fashion Week, cities like Montreal, which are roughly on the same line, are dealing with the kind of cold that literally freezes your eyelashes solid.
And sometimes these map mistakes create some truly bizarre realities. I want you to meet the northwest angle.
It's a piece of Minnesota that, because of a map-making blunder back in the 1780s, is completely cut off from the rest of the United States. Seriously, the only way you can get there by land is to drive through Canada first. So after all this, what are you supposed to do? Well, it's time for a new perspective. First step, just start questioning the map. From there, always look beyond the total area to the actual landmass. And please, always think about that projection distortion. Finally, challenge those climate stereotypes, because the world is almost never how it looks on paper. Which really just leaves us with one last big question. We've uncovered some pretty big lies about North America's size, its shape, even its climate. But it makes you wonder, what other secrets, what other stories is your map still hiding from you?